Hi guys, it's Marley. Welcome to my channel. It's Wheel of Mirrors. What will the Wheel of Mirrors reveal to you today? Alright, as y'all can tell from the title, it's going to be a little Bible study with the Rainbow Study Bible Living Bible Edition. Yeah, I think we're going to do a little like 15 minutes. So, yeah. For some reason, I want to point out that there is lizard poop all over the inside of my window screen. And I decided to use the natural lighting instead of the artificial lighting, my ring light, because that was just, yeah, so also my screen is deteriorating. So I don't know why that's significant. Maybe that will be in the next reading or something relevant to another reading. But we're going to go from just where I am. I'm in Genesis and 43. We'll start at 43. So if you have your Bible, you can follow along. I underline everything because I'm dyslexic and it helps me stay focused and follow along. So don't mind how I look while I'm concentrating. But yeah, read along with me if you feel called. Let me light the candles first. And also I'm feeling called to light. Yes, this is for meditation and religious ceremonies. This is the Tibetan sandalwood incense. There we go. All right, let's get started. Okay. This is Genesis 43. So Jacob is persuaded to let Benjamin return with his brothers to Egypt. All right. So this is basically like before, like, you know how, like, if you read the Bible before, like Joseph was given the power by God to be able to have dreams of prophecy, but also the ability to decode those dreams for other people and tell them what God said. His brothers did not fucking like that shit. One of his brothers tried to save him, but the rest, they wanted to kill him, but then they decided to sell him as a slave. He ended up in Pharaoh's, in charge of Pharaoh's things, and then the guy that was like in charge and put him in charge, I forgot his name, like something, let me look real quick. Potiphar. Yeah, Potiphar's wife tried to sleep with Joseph, and he was like, no, I'm not going to betray Potiphar, and you're his wife, I'm not going to do that. And so then she, tried to basically rape him, and then turned around and was like, oh, he tried to rape me, blah, blah, blah. So he got thrown in jail, into Pharaoh's jail. And then years later, somebody that was in jail, one of the chief like chefs or something, he had a dream, and Joseph interpreted it for him and said what God said that it meant. And he ended up going back up, but he forgot about Joseph. So years later, then he ended up telling Pharaoh once Pharaoh had this dream, and had all his magicians, all his sages, like, try to interpret it, and they couldn't. So then the chief priest and chief chef remembered about Joseph and said, and told Pharaoh about him. So then, long story short, Joseph became Pharaoh's right-hand man and put him in charge of literally everything. So yeah, it shows that God was continuing to bless Joseph, and now we're at the point where his brothers have come to see him because there's been a famine, and he's in charge of selling the food, Joseph is, and so his brothers have come, and he recognizes them, but they don't recognize him, and he calls them spies and stuff like that, 555. And so now we're seeing what's going to happen. He wants to see his youngest brother, or his older brother, but he's the youngest. Like, Joseph is the youngest, so Benjamin is above him, one above him. And he was like, I think the only one that wanted to save him. Maybe not. Maybe that was Reuben. I think also Reuben didn't want to do anything, but I think Benjamin was the one that tried to save him, and before they had already sold him. All right, so starting at 6:15, let me set a timer because I'm not the best with math. All right. There was no relief from the terrible famine throughout the land. When the grain they had brought from Egypt was almost gone, their father said to them, "Go in again and buy us a little food." But Judah told him, "The man wasn't fooling one bit when he said, 'Don't ever come back again unless your brother is with you.' We cannot go unless you let Benjamin go with us." "Why did you ever tell him you had another brother?" Israel moaned. "Why did you have to treat me like that?" But the man specifically asked about our family, they told him. He wanted to know whether our father was still living, and he asked us if we had another brother, so we told him. How could we know that he was going to say, "Bring me your brother"? Judah said to his father, "Send the lad with me, and we will be on our way. Otherwise, we will all die of starvation, and not only we, but you and all our little ones. I guarantee his safety. If I don't bring him back to you, then let me bear the blame forever. For we could have gone and returned by this time if you had let him come." So their father Israel, who is Jacob, finally said to them, "If it can't be avoided, then at least do this. Load your donkeys with the best products of the land. Take them to the man as gifts: balm, honey, spices, myrrh, pistachio nuts, and almonds. Take double money so that you can pay back what was in the mouths of your sacks. And it was probably someone's mistake. And take your brother and go." Mistake, I mean. "May God Almighty give you mercy before the man, so he will release Simeon and return Benjamin. And if I must bear the anguish of their deaths, then so be it." So they took the gifts and double money and went to Egypt and stood before Joseph. When Joseph saw that Benjamin was with them, he said to the manager of his household, "These men will eat with me this noon. Take them home and prepare a big feast." So the man did as he was told, and then took him to Joseph's palace. They were badly frightened when they saw where they were being taken. "It's because of the money returned to us in our sacks," they said. "He wants to pretend we stole it and seize us as slaves with our donkeys." As they arrived at the entrance to the palace, they went over to Joseph's household manager and said to him, "Our sir, after our first trip to Egypt to buy food, as we were returning home, we stopped for the night and opened our sacks, and the money was there that we had paid for the grain. Here it is. We have brought it back again, along with additional money to buy more grain. We have no idea how the money got into our sacks. Don't worry about it," the household manager told them. "Your God, even the God of your fathers, must have put it there, for we collected your money all right." Then he released Simeon and brought him out to them. They were then conducted into the palace and given water to refresh their feet, and their donkeys were fed. Then they got their presents ready for Joseph's arrival at noon, for they were told that they would be eating there. When Joseph came home, they gave him their presents, bowing low before him. And that's a 11:11, a prophecy of the dreams that Joseph had when he was a kid, and he had told his brothers about. These were the dreams that they hated him over, because God showed him dreams when he was a kid that all of his brothers would bow before him. And there it is, right there. He asked how they are getting along. "And how is your father, the old man you spoke about? Is he still alive?" "Yes," they replied. "He is alive and well." Then again they bowed before him. Looking at his brother Benjamin, he asked, "Is this your youngest brother, the one you told me about? How are you, my son? God be gracious to you." Then Joseph made a hasty exit, for he was overcome with love for his brother and had to go out and cry. Going to his bedroom, he wept there. Then he washed his face, came out, keeping himself under control. "Let's eat," he said. Joseph ate by himself. His brothers were served at a separate table, and the Egyptians at still another, for Egyptians despise Hebrews and never eat with them. He told each of them where to sit and seated them in the order of their ages, from the oldest to the youngest, much to their amazement. Their food was served to them from his own table. He gave the largest serving to Benjamin, 5 times as much as any of the others. They had a wonderful time bantering back and forth, and the wine flowed freely. All right, going into the next part, 44. When his brothers were ready to leave, Joseph ordered his household manager to fill each of their sacks with as much grain as they could carry, and to put into the mouth of each man's sack the money he had paid. He was also told to put Joseph's own silver cup at the top of Benjamin's sack along with the grain money. So the household manager did as he was told. The brothers were up at dawn, on their way with their loaded donkeys. But when they were barely out of the city, Joseph said to his household manager, "Chase after them and stop them and ask them why they are acting like this when their benefactor has been so kind to them. Ask them, 'What do you mean by stealing my Lord's personal silver drinking cup, which he uses for fortune telling? What a wicked thing you have done.'" So he caught up with them and spoke to them along the lines he had been instructed. "What in the world are you talking about?" they demanded. "What kind of people do you think we are, that you accuse us of such a terrible thing as that? Didn't we bring back the money we found in the mouths of our sacks? Why would we steal silver or gold from your master's house? if you find his cup with any one of us, let that one die." "No, Benjamin. And all the rest of us will be slaves forever to your master." "Fair enough," the man replied. "Expect that only the one who stole it will be a slave. The rest of you can go free." I see what Benjamin is trying to do. No, I see what Joseph is trying to do. He's trying to take his brother as a slave so that he can have a better life than with his brothers, who are jealous and not, like, they don't follow God. They don't they get jealous and then they want to kill you, or they want to sell you off as a slave. So, interesting. Okay. They quickly took down their sacks from their backs of their donkeys and opened them. He began searching the oldest brother's sack, going on down the line to the youngest. And the cup was found in Benjamin's. They ripped their clothing in despair, loaded the donkeys again, and returned to the city. Joseph was still at home when Judah and his brothers arrived, and they fell to the ground before him. "What were you trying to do?" Joseph demanded. "Didn't you know such a man as I would know who stole it?" And Judah said, "Oh, what shall we do, my Lord? Say to you, my Lord, how can we plead? How can we prove our innocence? God is punishing us for our sins." "Sir, we have all returned to be your slaves, both we and he in whose sack the cup was found." "No," Joseph said, "only the man who stole the cup, he shall be my slave. The rest of you can go home to your father." Then Judah stepped forward and said, "Oh, sir, let me say just this one word to you. Be patient with me for a moment, for I know you can doom me in an instant, as though you were Pharaoh himself. Sir, you asked us if we had a father or brother, and we said, yes, we have a father, an old man, and a child of his old age, a little one. And his brother is dead, and he alone is left of his mother's children, and his father loves him very much." That also makes sense. Benjamin is Joseph's brother of the same mother. The rest of them have different moms than the same dad, so they're all half brothers. And that's why Joseph wants Benjamin as well. "And you said to us, 'Bring him here so that I can see him.' But we said to you, 'Sir, the lad cannot leave his father, for his father would die.' But you told us, 'Don't come back here unless your youngest brother is with you.' So we returned to our father and told him what you had said. And he said, 'Go back and buy us a little food.' We replied, 'We can't unless you let our youngest brother go with us. Only then may we come.' Then my father said to us, 'You know that my wife had 2 sons, and that one of them went away and never returned, doubtless torn to pieces by some wild animal. I have never seen him since. And if you take away his brother from me also, and any harm befalls him, I shall die with sorrow. And now, sir, if I go back to my father, and the lad is not with us, seeing that our father's life is bound up in the lad's life, when he sees that the boy is not with us, our father will die, and we will be responsible for bringing his gray hairs with sorrow to the grave. Sir, I pledged my father that I would take care of the lad. I told him If I don't bring him back to you, I shall bear the blame forever. Please, sir, let me stay here as a slave instead of the lad, and let the lad return with his brothers. How? For how shall I return to my father if the lad is not with me? I cannot bear to see what this would do to him. All right, that technically I only have a minute and a half left to read, but because it's gonna take me longer than that, possibly, because I read sort of slow, I'm gonna read 45 first. Okay. Joseph could not stand it no longer. Out, all of you, he cried. Out, he cried out to his attendants, and he was left alone with his brothers. Then he wept aloud. His sobs could be heard throughout the palace, and the news was quickly carried to Pharaoh's palace. I am Joseph, he said to his brothers. Is my father still alive? But his brothers couldn't say a word. They were so stunned with surprise. Come over here, he said. So they came closer. And he said again, I am Joseph, your brother, whom you sold into Egypt. But don't be angry with yourselves that you did this to me, for God did it. He sent me here ahead of you to preserve your lives. These 2 years of famine will grow to 7, during which there will be neither plowing nor harvest. God has sent me here to keep you and your families alive, so that you will become a great nation. Yet it was God who sent me here, not you. And he made me a counselor to Pharaoh and manager of this entire nation, ruler of all the land of Egypt. Hurry, return to my father and tell him your son Joseph says, God has made me chief of all the land of Egypt. Come down to me right away. You shall live in the land of Goshen, so that you can be near me with all your children and your grandchildren, your flocks and herds, and all that you have. I will take care of you there. You men are witnesses of my promise, and my brother Benjamin has heard me say it, for there are still 5 years of famine ahead of us. Otherwise, you will come to utter poverty along with all your household. Tell our father about all my power here in Egypt and how everyone obeys me, and bring him to me quickly. One thing I have to say is, wow, that is God's mercy. There aren't a lot of people that would want to do that, but he taught them a lesson. He taught them a lesson and still showed God's mercy, God's love, and was like, I'm going to take care of you, even though you guys didn't take care of me. You saw me as a threat, and you sold me. But God made it into something good for all of us. Then, weeping with joy, he embraced Benjamin, and Benjamin began weeping too. And he did the same with each of his brothers, who finally found their tongues. The news soon reached Pharaoh. Joseph's brothers have come, and Pharaoh was very happy to hear it, as were his officials. Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, tell your brothers to load their pack animals and return quickly to their homes in Canaan, and to bring your father and all of your families and come here to Egypt to live. Tell them, Pharaoh will assign to you the very best territory in the land of Egypt. You shall live off the fat of the land. And tell your brothers to take wagons from Egypt to carry their wives and little ones and bring your father here. Don't worry about your property, for the best of all the land of Egypt is yours. So Joseph gave them wagons, as Pharaoh had commanded, and provisions for the journey. And he gave each of them new clothes. But to Benjamin he gave 5 changes of clothes and 300 pieces of silver. He sent his father 10 donkey loads of the good things of Egypt, and 10 donkey loads with grain and all kinds of other food to eat on his journey. So he sent his brothers off. "Don't quarrel along the way," was his parting shot. And leaving, they returned to the land of Canaan, to Jacob, their father. "Joseph is alive," they shouted to him, "and he is ruler of all the land of Egypt." But Jacob's heart was like a stone, he couldn't take it in. But when they had given him Joseph's messages, and when he saw the wagons filled with food that Joseph had sent, his spirit revived. And he said, "It must be true. Joseph, my son, is alive. I will go and see him before I die." So that's where we end. I'd like to know what you guys got away. I'd like to see what you guys got from that. Like, ooh, I'm parched. I need some water. But, yeah, it's like, even if your family betrays you, or you're hurt by those you love and trust, or just you're hurt by anybody, like, God can use that for good. And he does. And that's one example of it. Yeah. God bless y'all. Peace.